So we're going to jump in and get started to talk about getting started with Prompt Builder. So fantastic. All right, get our slides. Very exciting. There we go. Fabulous. All right, my name is Tian Kruger. I'm a product manager here at Salesforce. Me and my team have spent the last year building Prompt Builder, so we're excited to talk to you about that. I'm joined by Josh Schneier. He is one of the PMs on my team, and he's going to take you through a very in-depth demo of Prompt Builder. So we're actually going to go deep into the weeds. We're going to spend about 15 minutes in demo, so I'm very excited to take you into our product. All right. I am going to talk about some future-facing stuff. So please know that you need to make purchasing decisions based on what's GA now, available now. Please don't make decisions based on what is coming next. So that's all that says, and you should have it memorized by now. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being interested in learning about the product. And there'll be some chance to ask questions afterwards, and I thank you up front for the questions you're going to ask us. And thank you for being a customer. All right, so in this room, who feels that they can, with a raise of hands, confidently say that they know what an LLM is at this point? Not one? Nobody? What? Okay, so we have like a 50% back there. All right, you want to come take over? No, okay. All right, so an LLM is a large language model, and it is basically a type of AI or service or algorithm that uses a large set of training data to transform a set of input into a high-quality output. Today, the ones we use in Salesforce is text-based. Tomorrow, you will see things like image and video generation. They're already out on the internet. We do not pull them into Salesforce yet because there are some interesting things that happen with copyright and whatever else. So expect to see video and images and things coming, but in essence, the idea is I give you text, you transform it into a different shape of text, and we're going to talk about the different things it can do. But I want to take a moment, and I'm actually glad I have this slide, because if none of you can put your hand up and say, I know what an LLM is, I want to make sure that I set this straight. So we live in a world now where we can say old AI. I can't believe that, right? Like we can now say that, yeah, you know that old AI that we've been using for a while? That's predictive AI, okay? You shove a bunch of data into it. It does a very specific task. You teach it about your data, and then it's going to produce predictions for similar data to say how long is an opportunity going to take to close, how long is a case going to close, how likely is an opportunity to actually turn into a deal, etc. So it's predicting or identify things in images, right? These are the models that we've been used to. You feed something into it, you get a result out of it. An LLM is for general use. It's trained with generic data sets, and it knows how to do transformations. And we're going to talk a little bit more specific about that. There's a very important difference between these two. And I use an analogy, and if you're offended, I'm sorry. I don't mean to use an offensive analogy if you're a fresh college grad, so forgive me. But a predictive model is a lot like a freshly graduated college student. They have knowledge, but they really know not a whole lot. You have to train them and teach them before they'll actually do something helpful for you, for your company, right? Lots of learning to be done. On the other side, you have an LLM. It's an industry veteran. They've done an incredible amount of things. They know a lot of things, but they know nothing about your company. So the idea basically being that a predictive model is a model you have to teach from the ground up to be able to give you intelligent answers. But once they've been there for a while, they've actually built that knowledge, they can answer very specific things about your company because they know your company. On the other side, if you want to get quick, helpful answers from that industry expert, you can ask a question, and as long as you provide the context, the information about your company, it can give you a good answer, right? So that's the thing you want to think about. The LLMs have a lot of capability, but it's generic. It doesn't know anything about your company. You have to actually give it that context. Okay, so we're going to move forward. Now, raise of hands. Who knows what a prompt is at this point? Okay, good. So you've used an LLM then. Fantastic. So a prompt is just a combination of instructions, guidance, requirements, combined with data that's going to get transformed with the LLM. And we're going to show you some examples. A prompt is generally made up of a bunch of stuff. If you've been to one of the prompt sessions, you've probably seen something similar to this. I'm going to have a nice slide here next with all the definitions. It's going to be really handy for you to take a picture of. But really what's important is you give instructions, policies, examples. You tell it what you want. You give it things that we call prompt parameters, the locale, the style, the tone, the output format, and the interaction context. As you give it a bunch of details about not what you wanted to answer, but how you wanted to answer. And then lastly, you can configure hyperparameters, model choice, which model do you want to run against, and what grounded data you want to pass into it. So there's actually a lot inside of a prompt. And those are your slide. If you're not taking a picture of this one yet, this is a great slide to take a picture of. And you can go home and impress all your friends and family with the fact that you know what all these things are. Hyperparameters, by the way, is not a secret fancy thing. It only means configuration you can tweak on the model that says how creative is it. So if you have a situation where you want really creative responses, and it'll be really hallucination friendly, crank the temperature all the way up. If you want something that's really going to give you a tight answer or tell you no soup for you because you don't give it enough information, you crank the temperature down already. All right, so those are hyperparameters. Model selection we'll talk a little bit more about in a moment. And this is what it looks like when you start putting it together. You have instructions, write an introductory message, parameters, in the style of Steve Jobs. I'm a big fan of saying in Shakespeare English. I think sales emails read much better in Shakespeare English, personally. I don't know why I find that in music, but I really do. Grounding data, UX architect, biking, surfing, and cooking, and then you can actually give it examples. So this is kind of what a prompt starts to put together. Now, this is the question I think you all should be asking. If you're asking nothing after your time here, this is the question you should be asking. Okay, great, Salesforce, you have lots of AI. How does this fit into my org? My CEO, CIO is asking that we want generative AI in our org, in our company, and I need to figure out what that means. So let's talk about what it can do. So generative AI, and this is not all generative AI can do, it can do a lot more, but I wanted to give you some use cases to ground you on. No pun intended, unless you like puns, then it can be a pun. Generate or elaborate or apply styling. Generate a press release or a blog entry or text to match a company voice or personalized text like emails. I love the fact that we're generating the oldest technology we use in company with the latest technology. So now we're generating emails with AI. Really interesting, right? Summarize or extract. This is the thing that your users are going to ask you to do first. Help me summarize a thing. Help me extract key insights. And it's really good at doing this. Feed it an entire case and all the comments and say, hey, GPT, tell me what was the resolution of this, what was the key problems, and the steps to reproduce, or something like that. You can actually ask it questions, and oftentimes, or most of the time, it'll actually do a good job extracting those key things out of a bundle of information. This is also very helpful. On that last one, on that middle slide, is you can use that insights that it comes up with to train a traditional AI model. So if you have a large complex data set, you can use generative AI to extract smaller bits of information that you can then train a model with. And then when a new item comes in, a case for instance, you can put it through the same filter and then actually try to use the predictive model to then predict how long is this going to take, etc. So the two models actually work very well together, and I highly recommend, as you start getting deeper into it, start thinking about how can I use predictive and generative together, because they're actually really, really good. Lastly, you can generate HTML, metadata, XML. In fact, if you want to see a cool demo with HTML, if you go all the way back to the entrance, there is a couple of demos, and one is a prompt builder demo. In there, they're generating a newsletter with HTML in it. It is one of my favorite demos. It's a great demo. Okay. Now, we understand that we want to help solve this problem. You all have generative AI asks. You are trying to figure out how it fits into your company, and so we wanted to build something that helps you do that, and we actually built this thing called Prompt Builder. So Prompt Builder the goal for it is to let you take AI instructions, your data from your system, merge those things together, send it off to an LLM, and get a response back that you can then use on your system. You can build it with trusted AI. It is taking advantage of the trust layer. We're going to talk a little bit about that. It actually, you can enrich it with your data super easily. I'm not going to talk a lot about that because Josh actually covers almost every type of grounding we have available inside of his demo, and it's great to just see it instead of talk about it. And then lastly, but most importantly, you can then integrate it anywhere where you already have flows. And this is really important. You call it from Apex, you can call it from a flow, you can actually embed it in all kinds of places. We have field generation, which is already available for you. You just add it onto the layout, okay? So my job, I was a 13-year customer that came to Salesforce and became a product manager. I wanted to build a product that I would want to use when I was a developer, when I was a Salesforce administrator. This is that product. It actually takes generative AI and makes it super easy for you to actually use and embed generative AI in your system. You don't actually have to go connect models. You don't have to worry about figuring out keys and whatever else. You turn it on, you write your prompt, you pick your model, you test it until you're happy with it, you deploy it into the flow that it needs to go. It is as low code or no code as you can possibly get. But if you want to get fancy, you can call Apex and actually do complicated grounding. So I'm going to spend just a little bit here to kind of try and frame for you where prompts fit in our whole AI story. So if you look at this diagram, I want you to start right here where it says prompt builder. There's out-of-box templates. This means you can customize things that shipped in sales and service. Right now, sales templates is the first one that's available already in GA, but all of our clouds are working with us to actually make their templates available for you to customize, to clone and customize, to actually make it easier for you to actually bring your uniqueness into their products. Here's why that is really, really cool. These internal clouds, these internal teams are spending an incredible amount of effort and time and testing, building these golden prompts, these complex prompts that actually do things like generate service replies. And we have made a decision internally to let you see those prompts and clone them and build on them, so that you can actually you don't have to start from scratch. You can actually start with great prompts that internal teams have already built that work. Secondly, you can then go and say, okay, I want to actually build some custom stuff. So I want to build some free flex templates that you can define what your data that's passed in, and you're going to throw it in a flow. You're going to throw it in a screen flow. You're going to put it on a Lightning page. And then lastly, all the stuff you're building will ultimately be able to be deployed into Copilot as actions. And in fact, after this, there's still one more session left. And we're going to actually show you how you can take a prompt template and throw it into Copilot. I highly recommend you come check that out. You'll be the first in your company to know how to actually create a Copilot action, and it can be pretty amazing when you actually use generative AI. All of this is grounded by the CRM system with merge fields, related lists. Josh is going to show all of those. You can actually do data cloud via flow and enrichments. All of it runs through the trust layer. I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And then you can pick your LLM. And this is really, really important. There's not going to be one LLM that rules them all. There's going to be different LLMs, and those different LLMs actually are going to have different capabilities. Google has some, Cohere has some, Anthropic has some, OpenAI, which we're all familiar with, GPT 3.5 does things different than GPT 4. And you should be able to choose for each prompt template what LLM works in that use case the best, and use whatever makes the most sense so you can tie them together. And we wanted to make sure that we built that in such a way that you can do that. All of this flows through the trust layer. So you have, we will actually, and I'll take you through it really quickly. You've got your prompt template. We pull over all your data. We pull it with the user's context. So the user won't see any data that they don't have access to. It's literally run within the user's context. You can then do dynamic grounding. You can use Flow and various other tools to bring in data, additional data, including external. We then mask your data. So I'm going to pause there for a second. There's two kinds of masking. What's available in GA today, which is the fact that we are detecting certain types of patterns. We will mask those things and unmask it when it comes back. And then also, there's a feature that's coming, this is Safe Harbor, where you can mark which fields in your system you want to have the sensitive data that you want to mask. All of that then goes through our prompt defense layer, We have a zero retention agreement with all of our vendors, so that means they have to play in goldfish mode. They can't remember anything you send them. So that's why your data cloud is required. We're actually storing all of your history in data cloud, all of the prompts, what they looked like masked, unmasked, whether the user liked it or disliked it. All of that's actually stored in an audit log in data cloud. So if something goes wrong and your user says, hey, this didn't work, you can literally go pull it up, look at what happened, and actually debug it, which is really powerful. Then you get your response back. We do the toxicity detection. We demask the data. It goes into the audit trail so that you can actually figure out what happened. All right. There's lots of different data you can pull in. CRM data, data cloud, external data via Flows and MuleSoft. And you can use Flow to literally do any kind of logic that you need to put to actually run in your prompts. And I think you're actually going to show a flow or two. So there's 4 features that's shipping in GA. Sales emails, talked about that one. Field generation, generate a field value. Josh is going to show you that. Record summary, that's really, really strong with Copilot. And then flex templates, which literally just is what it sounds like. You can define what data is passed into it. You then put your instructions, and then you can stuff it anywhere in the system where it makes sense for you to call it. But that's enough theory. Let's show them.
All right.
All right, Josh. And I gave you a couple more minutes than the last time.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Dion. All right, everyone. So thank you all again for coming to TrailblazerDX. We really want to show you how Prompt Builder works. So who here has already seen Prompt Builder a little bit or at all? Okay, most of us have seen it. So
I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. There you go.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So we're going to dive in, and I want to show you how it works and then how you can actually implement it within your org to get useful results and do things with them, right? That's the best part. So as Tia mentioned, we have some use cases that ship out of the box. The first one that we brought to market was sales email. So if I look at my email composer here, I'll have this draft with Einstein button. If I click on that, you can see I have some standard email templates. There's a couple custom ones below. We'll show you how to create one of those. But for our use case here, we might be looking at sending a meeting invite. Now, the out-of-the-box email template, it asks us to choose a product. So this is pretty useful, where I can choose a product and ask the LLM to generate an email to my contact saying, hey, I'd like to reach out and discuss this product with you. But, it's entirely possible that's not exactly what you want to do for your meeting request. Maybe you're going to be traveling through your territory and you want to reach out to your customer and say, hey, let's get together for a lunch meeting. This prompt template wouldn't exactly fit the bill for that. So let's go take a look inside Prompt Builder and see how we can build our own. So we'll come into Setup, and we'll find Prompt Builder. And we'll dive right in and create a prompt. I'll select New Prompt Template. And the first thing we need to do is choose the type. So as Tia mentioned, these are the prompt template types. And the different types have to do with the behaviors of the prompt, the type of inputs it takes, how the output is formatted. And you will see different types created for different use cases. So for us, we're going to choose sales email. And we'll give this a name here. And we've done this demo already, so we're going to make sure we have a unique API name. The recipient for this is going to be contact. We can choose between contact or lead. And again, this has to do with the type of information that we can pull into our prompt. And you'll see in a moment that'll make a lot more sense. For the related object, we're not really interested in associating information from a product or an opportunity or anything else. We just want to reach out to our contact. So that's really the only input that we need to define. We'll go ahead and select Next. So here we are inside Prompt Builder. So if you haven't seen this already, there's kind of 4 main parts. The section up above is where we actually enter the instructions for our prompt. This is where we tell the large language model what we'd like it to do. These are your instructions. Here's your grounding or your context information to help you generate the best result. We have this resource picker, which we'll get into, which allows you to pull in things like merge fields or flows. You can see it's a lot like a much fancier version of building a formula and pulling in merge fields that way. We have the preview section down below. On the left, we have the resolution. So this is where we actually resolve all those merge fields, or we run the flows and bring in the data so you can see exactly what got sent to the LLM. If you just type some instructions and you have a bunch of merge field or grounding information coming in and you get a response, sometimes you're not sure, why am I seeing this response? It's really helpful to see what the LLM actually received from us. And that's where we view the responses on the right side. On the left, we have some configuration options, and we'll get through those. So let's go ahead and start creating this email template. So what we want to do is tell the LLM, kind of let it know who it is and what it's trying to do. You can say, your name is, remember, that's going to be writing this email in the first person, so we kind of have to give it its context information. So I'm the sender here, and we want my name. You are an account rep with, now let's go grab my company's name here, sender, excuse me, hang on a second, current organization, apologize. So this is a global variable for current organization. This is our name. All right, so that's the first part. Next, your key account is, and then remember this is a template, so we drop in a merge field. We can reuse this with any account. So we'll go here to recipient.account ID. So this is just connecting the dots with these merge fields, just like we would do with formulas or anywhere else. Account.name, your account is, and your contact there is, now let's get a recipient, let's grab their name. We'll just use their first name because that helps the result be a little bit more friendly. Now what are we trying to do here? Compose an email informing, here we can copy and paste here, that's kind of cool. Oops.
Control C. I got a weird laptop, I apologize.
Oh, hang on a second. All right, here, we'll just go back in here and grab that name.
It's a trick laptop. I swap command and control because I use Windows sometimes.
Well, keeping me on my feet here. You will be in their city soon. So we're doing this all by hand because I want to show you exactly how this works and how easy it is to do. So go to recipient. We'll start picking up the pace here. Soon, and would like to meet for lunch. All right, so this is what we're trying to do. This is not something that Salesforce would have predicted, so that's why we give you Prompt Builder to let you do this yourself. So we'll go ahead and we'll save this prompt template. Now we want to test it. Now, remember that we first created this, the input is we got to start with the contact. We need somewhere to start with to begin connecting the dots for all these merge fields and all this grounding information. So let's try, oh, sorry, it's not Harold, it's Howard. We got a lot of contacts here. We'll try this with Howard Jones. So when we go to test a prompt template, you can supply what we call test records. You can do lots of different tests, and you really want to run through these a handful of times so you get a real flavor for what your responses are going to look like, and you can try different test records. So if we preview this for Howard, hey, here we go, meeting request for lunch in Milwaukee. We can see on the left-hand side, the merge field information got resolved, and we could see this is exactly what got sent to the LLM. So this looks good. We'll go ahead and save that. Actually, we already did save it, so let's go ahead and activate it. Now if we come back over to our contact, and let's refresh this here so we can pick that up. We open up Draft with Einstein, we'll have a new entry here, travel meeting request. So it's that simple. So I go ahead and click that button, and now it's going to leverage the custom prompt template that I created. So it's not about a product, it's a friendly email just letting Howard know, hey, I'm going to be in town, let's see if we can get together. So that's a real simple use case, just getting your feet wet. How do we build the prompt template using a standard use case like sales email? But let's say we want to do something a little bit more interesting, and here's where we can really have some fun. Before I walk in the door to visit Howard, I might want to see what's going on with his accounts. He works for Acme Sugar Company, and we've got this field here on our layout. Oops, we didn't clear that. I'll show you how we actually repopulate this. We've got a field here, escalated open cases. And what we want to do here is give kind of a quick overview of what's going on with the customer. What's their temperature? Have they logged a lot of customer support cases with us recently? Is Howard going to be maybe happy to see us or not so happy to see us or eager to talk to us? That would be useful information to know. And so one of the great things that the LLMs are really good at is summarizing information. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we might build a prompt template using our field generation capability to go through our escalated cases, summarize that information, and drop it right in. So we can go back to Prompt Builder. We'll leave our travel meeting request, and we'll start a new one here. This time we're going to use the field generation type. And we can call this one Escalated Case Summary. All right. And what we want to do here is populate that field. So we need to tell the prompt template which field we're trying to populate. So escalated open cases. We'll hit next. Now let's write a prompt template asking it to summarize. So we can say, write a short one-paragraph summary of escalated customer support cases logged by, and we'll get the account name, drop the merge field in there. Okay, but there's one thing we're missing here. How does the LLM know which cases are open? How do we pull those in? This is where we start getting into some really interesting capabilities, like using flow. Now, we do have a function, or a feature, I should say. If we go to account, if I scroll all the way down past all the merge fields here, down at the bottom, you'll actually see some related list entries. These are pretty handy, but they're real powerful. They will actually pull in everything in those related lists. In our case here, we just want to pull in the open escalated support cases. We don't want to pull in every case they might have logged, although these related lists can be really handy for some use cases. So the way I need to do this is I need to go get a flow put together that'll help pull together just the right cases that I need. So let's go over into Flow Builder, and I'll show you how we do that. So hopefully everybody here is a little bit familiar with Flow. It's very, very powerful and very handy. So when we come into flows here, go hit the button for a new flow. I'm not going to start from scratch. I do have one that's pre-baked we'll jump into. But I want to show you we do have a new type of flow that we've introduced. This is for a template-triggered prompt flow. So this is a flow that can be invoked whenever a prompt template is being executed and needs to get some extra information. That prompt template, upon execution, can call out to the flow and say, hey, will you please assemble the information I need and give it back to me so I can complete my grounding information and throw that at the LLM. So, but we're actually going to go take a look at one that we've already started a little bit here, this escalated case info. And this is pretty straightforward. So here we are, we're doing a get record, if you're familiar with Flow. We're going to go and first we're going to receive that account ID that we're working with. We're going to say, hey, for that account ID, go get me all the cases that are in an escalated status and bring that into the flow. Then we're going to loop through that flow, loop through those cases. And this is kind of the new action you're looking for is add prompt instructions. This is really the key of the prompt template flow. And you can think of this as sort of a fancy or very use case specific output variable. The prompt instructions are where we're going to accumulate the information or the text information that the flow is sourcing so that we can pass it back into the prompt template. So we can see here, this is what we're doing. Every time we loop through one of those cases, we're going to grab the number, the status. We probably want a little bit more color commentary there, so let's go ahead and add the case subject. So I'm going to add that here. I'm just using some simple notation to keep these things separated with commas and colons. You don't have to get too fancy. A lot of times we will use JSON. That can certainly help. We're trying to keep this one pretty simple. So we want the subject. I'll do a colon, and I'll grab that value here, the current case. Subject, and we'll drop that in. So now I've added the subject field to the items that we're pulling from each escalated case. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll save that. And we'll activate it. All right, that's activated. Now, if we come back into this prompt template we're building, instead of just grabbing a simple merge field, I can grab a flow. I can grab the escalated case info. And as you can imagine, when this runs, we'll go ahead and pop in an account here. I can hit save and preview. Oops. Another in-use API name. We'll try that again. So this is a really cool part. So our instructions got repeated. We grabbed the name of the account, Acme Sugar Company. We resolved that merge field. But here we can see the results of that flow. We can see the case number, the status, and the subject for each of the escalated cases. So you can probably start to get an idea of how powerful this is when you can use some of the existing platform capabilities like Flow to pull in extra rich grounding information. So we can see here we've got a nice summary. If I go ahead and activate this, I'll show you how we actually make this work on the record. Okay, so let's go back over to Acme Sugar Company. And there's a way now that we have enabled for dynamic forms. You can go into Lightning App Builder, and I can tell my page layout, hey, whenever you see that escalated open cases field, put a magic button on that. That'll execute the prompt template and bring that in for me. So let's go ahead and edit our page here. We'll show you how to put that to use. So we'll come in and for escalated open cases. See, we now have this option to select a prompt template that's associated with that field. So I'll select escalated case summary. We'll save that. All right, now let's go back to the layout, and we should have that magic button waiting for us. Oops, got to refresh that. There we go. So you can see that little star there next to the edit icon. If I go ahead and click this button, it'll open up the side panel, and it's going to run that prompt template for us. And here we can see the results of that coming back. It went through, it executed the flow, it brought back the grounding information, it wrote me a nice little summary. I can tap the Use button. That'll copy that information into my field. And now I have a nice tidy little summary that I can reference before I interact with my customer. But you know what you might be thinking, hey, that's great, but I don't want to have to go edit this record every time. Wouldn't it be great if I could keep that up to date? So this is another great functionality that we have, is now prompt templates can be invoked via invocable action. I can go now write a plain old record triggered flow. So every time a case is updated, I can see this escalated and go ahead and update this. So let me show you how that works. And this will be pretty quick because we've got this mostly baked as well here. So this is a flow we've already got baked here. And this is just a basic record triggered flow. This is a traditional flow here that's going to run anytime the case object is touched. So what we need to do here is, after getting the account information, we're going to add an action. And what we're looking for here is there's a new set of actions we'll see for prompt templates. So here I'm just going to use case escalation snapshot, which is pretty similar. And we tell it, use the account from the case that got touched, that triggered the flow. And when we get that information, we're going to drop it into a variable I already have called case summary. Oops, forgot that there. All right.
Always document your stuff. It's going to be very helpful when you start adding flows to Copilot. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. So to the two of you that update the descriptions of your flows and all those things in your system, it's going to pay off now because you can throw them as Copilot actions, and it uses all of that to actually schedule them.
So what we've got here is, again, this is just a plain old record triggered flow, right? A record gets touched, the flow launches, it checks something, it modifies the field, and it saves it. Except that modifies the field, it now can go out and execute a prompt template and bring back something really useful and valuable. So let's go back and take a look at another account, and we can see what that looks like. I think if I go to Sierra Snacks, maybe, they've got some cases here. So we see they've got a bunch of cases. I don't believe they have anything under their escalated open cases. But if we go over into one of their cases here and we want to, let's say, escalate this guy, we'll escalate it. So now the case has just done its thing. Cases are getting logged. They're doing their business. And as an account rep, you don't have to worry about going and touching that account record anytime you want the summary. If I come back to the details, we can see it's already been populated by that flow. So the ability to launch a prompt template from an invocable action really gives you amazing power to start dropping in these prompt responses in so many different places in any kind of custom UI you want to build, even on basic standard objects and their page layouts. So with that, hopefully we had a chance to see how we can build prompt templates and how we can actually put them to use. So thanks everyone for really getting in deep here, and we'll definitely have some time in a few minutes to take some more questions.
Sure. So I'm going to quickly show you, because I'm sure you're all very curious, what's coming next. We're not going to spend a ton of time here, but this is the roadmap. As you know, generative AI is moving at absolutely breakneck speeds. So this is very safe harbor. Things will continue to change on this, but we're looking to pass inputs, string inputs into prompt templates. That's a big one. Give you better visibility into feedback summaries and toxicity and safety. Give you better data masking. There's going to be phenomenal new tools coming to actually ground based on data cloud data, including RAG search or vector search. Go look at the demo booth for Einstein Copilot search up there. Phenomenal, really, really going to be powerful. And then going beyond winter into the Dreamforce time frame, we're going to actually allow you to hand over control to a subset of your templates to, for instance, sales operations. So if you have like your sales emails, you want the sales operations person to manage those, you can actually delegate that administration. There's going to be more custom prompt template types coming, testing, expanded data cloud support, an incredible amount of innovation coming in this space. So with that said, we have 3 minutes. I'm going to put the feedback code up here. Please scan that. Let us know how we did. If there's anything we could have done better, if there's anything we did great. We really seriously read every single one of your feedback. So it is not time wasted by any means. I appreciate anybody and everybody, positive or negative, to give us feedback. So that being said, we have time for a question or two if there's any questions in the room. Otherwise, we will meet you outside and answer any questions one-on-one if you need to.